Hello everyone. So I've been asked a lot about if I interacted with the leak mechanic yet, especially with the crafting part of it, and what I crafted with it. So yesterday I actually started to give a proper look into it, and I ended up crafting my sword, which is pretty good, you know, triple tier 1 suffix. I ended up crafting my shield with decent life, tier 1 fire damage, and decent enough suffixes to be happy about it. And I've also managed to create this base on my body armor with that fracture itself. I will go over them in this video, but I will also leave links in the description to the links on Craft of Exile. But I highly recommend you watch this video, as I will be going over my thought process and trying to explain how to set it up for your own items in the future, and what to look for, what to pay attention to, and whatnot. If you find this content useful, please consider liking and subscribing, it helps a lot. And let's get into it. So the first craft I did was actually quite simple. It was a custom crit sword for triple suffix with attack speed, crit chance, and crit multi. I'll show you the result first, and then I will show you the thought process behind it and how to get it, and how to use Craft of Exile to actually simulate the process. So let's see. This is the current mods. Again, we increase the quality, +1 explicit, speed, and crit. I added cold, I will explain a little bit later why. And then you make most of the other stuff scarcer, and add modifier tier rating. This is the result, and let's take a look at the crafting process afterwards. So pretty much exactly what you're looking for, right? But there is a bit more to it. So how do we actually craft this? I hope this is big enough for you guys to see. So one of the most important crafts here is modifier tier rating. This is gonna be a part of pretty much every craft we're gonna do this week. Why? Because it cuts out low tier mods from the item. So for example, this item cannot roll any crit chance that's not tier 1. Or any attack speed that's not tier 1. And it cuts it also from mods that you don't actually want. So in general, this is just pretty much gonna always be part of the craft. That's the modifier tier rating. You will probably need between like 8 to 14 on most of your items. So now that that one is out of the way, let's take a look at suffixes and why what exactly we want and what tags it has, right? So we want crit multi, tag crit, we want crit chance, tag crit, and attack speed, tagged with speed, which honestly is very easy because nothing else actually shares the tags with what we are trying to craft. So the way we accomplish this is pretty simple. We just add critical more likely and speed more likely. Increased chance of critical modifiers, increased chance of speed modifiers. You can add extra to increase your odds a little bit, but this was what I found cost efficient. It was about 75% chance to hit the weapon the way it did, and it cost 8 speed and 10 crit, plus 1 scares of pretty much each of them that can roll on the suffix. So then you look at the suffixes and see what you want to remove, right? We want to remove physical mods, we want to remove chaos mods, we want to remove attribute mods, chaos again, fire, lightning, mana mods, life mods. So that's why these scars are here. Finally, the reason I added flat cold is because on custom crit DD, we want to have some sorts of cold damage, and that is the only like useful prefix we can actually hit. So I added 500% increased cold, which does increase cold resistance a little bit and makes it a little less likely, but it's completely fine because as you can see, the weight of rolling crit is like 50,000 and cold rest 750, so it was still completely fine without any issues. But I did actually end up hitting the cold damage here, which meant I freed up implicit on my gloves. It's not a big deal, but might as well add it there since it doesn't really cost too much. And the reason I add +1 explicit is just to increase the odds of it hitting the flat cold damage pretty much, because the suffixes are almost always gonna be full. The one thing that is worth mentioning is that if you wanna go for the like true endgame foil that has the veiled fire damage and ignite chance, you wouldn't wanna add this explicit modifier, but I don't actually think that is worth it because the average cost to craft that foil is like 60 divines to finish the prefixes. And yeah, you get like 10% more damage for it. I mean, if you are at the point where that is worth it for you, then go ahead, but I don't think most people would be at that point. But yeah, the craft for the foil is pretty simple. It's gonna be in the description. This is this Craft of Exile link, and hopefully it helps everyone to use this. Actually, let me show a quick reset here, just to show you guys how I set it up, because I'm not gonna do this for everything, but at least here I feel like it's fast to set up and good to show. So it's the battered foil. Eye level doesn't really matter. I mean, we're gonna have 83 or 84 most of the time, since that's just how the corpses are gonna be. So we go eye level 84. We go modifier tier rating until we only have one attack speed and crit chance roll, which in this case I'm pretty sure it's 14, because if we go to 13, it adds another attack speed roll. So we go to 14, and then again we want more crit, more speed. It's actually quite intuitive, right? A little more cold, as I said, and then we remove the ones we do not like, which is attribute, chaos, fire, lightning, life, mana, physical. You can add this resistance to it to make the cold rest less likely, but you can see that pretty much now when we select crit chance, critical multiplier, and attack speed, we are back to like 74% or something. We add one explicit modifier, it's probably gonna be 75. Yeah. So this is how you craft the foil. Let's take a look at another item. The next one is gonna be the body armor. So the first craft I did was actually quite simple. It was a cast on crit sword for triple suffix with attack speed, crit chance, and crit multi. I'll show you the result first, and then I will show you the thought process behind it and how to get it and how to use Craft of Exile to actually simulate the process. So let's see. This is the current mods. Again, we increase the quality, +1 explicit, speed, and crit. I added cold. I will explain a little bit later why. And then you make most of the other stuff scarcer and add modifier tier rating. This is the result, and let's take a look at the crafting process afterwards. So for the body armor, my goal was to get fractured fist damage reduction, and the way I achieved that was actually using the Waggle method. Shout out to Waggle, who basically came to my stream after he was done and boasted about his items, and he linked me one of his dragon scales that had fractured fist DR, and I was like, how did you get this one? And then he explained it, and it's actually very easy and relatively cheap. So let's get over this one. This is the final recipe, but I will go over the craft itself in Craft of Exile. Actually, let me show you the result first, because I ended up adding a 6th here, but it wasn't actually useful because it was really hard to color it, so I had to actually break up the 6th and color it through Vorici method by adding and removing sockets. But the point is, this is gonna be your final result. It's gonna be 2 body armors that are split with 8% Fizz DR and Thorns. So we wanna have 100% chance to create a split copy, and we wanna have 200% chance to fracture an explicit modifier. On top of that, we do minus 2 explicit modifiers to reduce it from 4 to 2, add quality to 30, plus 2 item level because we actually want 86 on this item. You would have to do +3 if you didn't have 84 corpses. Just make sure the final result is actually 86. It does show when you mouse over right here, as you can see. So just make sure this says 86 and explicit modifiers too. And let me show you what we actually did for the craft itself. So again, this is the Craft of Exile link. It's gonna be in the description. We did 500 modifier tier rating because that is what was needed to have only tier 1 Fizz DR. Again, this is gonna be part of every craft. We did 6,000 increased physical modifiers. The problem here is that there's always gonna be Thorns when you do this, but the way we actually get around that is by splitting it. So this way we have 2 different body armors, one with Thorns, one with Fizz DR. And since we are only doing 2 modifiers, it is very easy to, like, it basically guarantees the fracture. It's not actually guaranteed, it's only like 92% or 91% or something, but it's pretty good, right? So we do 6,000 increased physical. You can add a little more if you want to. I think those were pretty cheap to increase your odds slightly, but reduce attributes, reduce chaos, reduce cold, reduce defenses, reduce fire, reduce life, reduce lightning, pretty much reduce everything that can actually roll on the item. You could even do reduce resistance, but that one is a little expensive. So that is the body armor. It's actually very easy to craft a base like this. You can do it on dragon scale, you can do it on other bases as well. So you should keep this in mind in case you want to craft something fractured. That's not spell suppression, because spell suppression is very difficult, but you could use this for chaos resistance, for example, and those are quite valuable sometimes. So just keep that in mind. You can use this for crafting fractured bases as well, not just full items. And the last craft I did, that was by far the most complicated one, was the shield crafting. And this one was also the most expensive, even though I tried to minimize the cost as much as I could by not including gem scares and resistance scares, but it still ended up being quite pricey compared to the other stuff, but definitely way cheaper than trying to buy any shield that's even remotely similar to this. So let me first show you the results. I also included ways to add extra copies of the item, and I will explain those later, but that is very complicated and I would only really recommend it for expensive items. I don't even know if I would do it again if I was doing the shield. It kinda depends on the prices of the corpses right now. So let me first show you the shields I rolled. So the first shield, I think this is the one I'm currently using actually. It's pretty good. Tier 1 fire damage, tier 2 life, avoid elements, resist, and tier 1 regen. I hope I don't stall for too long in here. I mean, you know, classic streamer things. Just have to delay super long on everything you do. Again, fire damage, regen, rest, max lightning dodge, which is kind of whatever as a suffix, but better than nothing. And finally, the third shield. I'm sure I will show it within the next 2 centuries or something. Man, I hate streamers, I swear. It's awful. Every streamer just stalls forever whenever they do anything. And the third shield is pretty similar to the first shield. Slightly better rolls actually. But I ended up selling this one because I figured that +1 fire spell skills will still better than +1 chaos spell skills, but we don't really care about either of them on DD. So I just sold this one, used the first one, used some. First, let me show you what I use for crafting the shield, and then we can explain how to make multiples of that. The multiple part is very annoying, but let's start with the shield. Modifier tier rating 13. Here we actually didn't want to remove every tier, because the fire damage tier 1 is so rare that I decided to include tier 2 as well, to make it more likely that we hit. I think this is pretty important. I think without this, the shield craft is very difficult to do. This is sadly messed up. The chance to hit was like 85% or so. So don't worry about this number, but just bear with me and try to listen to my explanation. So we have 8000% increased fire modifiers. This is just what we had to do to actually get the fire damage, since the rating on it is so low. 500% increased life, which is more than good enough. It also makes it so life regen on suffix is way more likely to it, which I consider very good stat on Inquis, so I was pretty happy about that. Then attribute scarcer, caster scarcer, a little bit of all of those. A lot of defense scarcer. This is mostly due to this hybrid roll that has both life and defense, so we needed to reduce it by a lot since we added +1 life. And it's very difficult to reduce anything that you added a positive modifier to. So we needed a lot of reduced defense, so I opted for how many was that? 16. But they were very cheap at the time. Hopefully they still are. Lightning modifiers, mana modifiers 2.4k. This is the same reasoning because there is a mana life roll somewhere, I'm pretty sure. Oh no, it was just the mana roll that was high. Actually, it's on mana life, but you can craft that one, but it doesn't really matter for this. But this mana roll was actually quite high value, so we reduced it by a lot just to make the odds of us hitting more likely. And then physical scarcer was mostly just for thorns, because thorns have pretty high weight, so we had to reduce it by a lot. Again, this all comes from the point of the fire damage being so rare that it's very difficult to hit. And then finally, we also had to do +2 explicit modifiers because crafting this on a 4 or 5 mod item was very difficult. But on a 6 mod item, we actually got it pretty consistent. So I'm gonna generate a few just so you can see the shields. As you can see, the average shield result is very good. This one we would have missed, right? But in general, you hit very often. So I'll include this link in the description as well, but keep in mind that this craft is a little more expensive than the others. It uses a lot of corpses. I actually filled the entire graveyard because I used 19 to set up the duplication stuff. But you could do with a little less. I just figured that if I'm gonna do a craft this big, I might try to put in as many as possible to actually make it very likely to hit. I hope this will also bring down the price of the shields on the market now that people know how to craft it. So maybe even if you cannot be bothered crafting, you might be able to buy one for a cheaper. I actually sold them quite cheap yesterday compared to what the price used to be, because I was like, I don't think the price is gonna stay high for that long. But honestly, I still made huge profit on this crafting. Now for the scary part, and that is the duplication process. All you need to pay attention to is this red outline. Everything else you just fill with whatever was in here without any regards on the right side, but you need to pay for the red pay attention to the red outline here. And the way you do it is pretty tedious and complicated, but the red outline is in this corner, and this is the row. This one that I'm walking around is the row, and this is the column, just so it's clear to see. This is the column, this is the row on the picture. I hope you see my mouse in this video, I'm not 100% sure. So what you would want to do is you would want to place a chance to create a copy in this slot, which is the absolute corner. I don't have it ready, but that's what you would place there. Let's just put -1 explicit there since I don't really care about that craft. Then you'd place it here. That's the third in the row, and you would place it here. The problem here is that you want them all to be the same monster category. So, for example, I have 2 constructs. This should be also a construct. And then you look for adjacent, increased effect of, and then whatever copy thing you actually have. So in this case, it would be construct, and you fill in the yellow slots there, which would be this slot, this one, and that one. Right? And then finally you fill these the blue slots that are in the red outline with effect of row for the row ones, and then effect of columns for the blue ones. But again, this is only something you need to know for expensive crafts and stuff you actually want multiples of. It definitely was worth it for the shield, so I think if you're gonna craft the shield, you should probably do it too, since you can recoup some of your costs. But be aware to not mess it up, because the crafts that are create an extra copy are actually quite expensive, so it is a risk if you aren't confident in what you are doing. I actually messed it up myself, but it ended up working out quite fine, so I figured I would mention this and highlight this. But I hope this video helped people a lot. I mean, I know it's a lot, I know it's a powerful spreadsheet, I know you have to use Scrap of Exile to interact with the leak mechanic, and it's annoying, but I can tell you one thing, the items are well worth it. And even if you are not actually gonna use this crafting, well, at least there's gonna be a lot of good items on the market that you can buy, hopefully at a more reasonable price than in the past. That is gonna be it from me for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, subscribe, it helps a lot. And I hope you guys have good luck when crafting. Bye everyone!